Hi, I am Laura, and today we're going to be doing an organic paper sculpture for the steam bags. So the first thing we're going to learn a little bit about is what are organic shapes and what are geometric shapes. So organic shapes are kind of very irregular, and there's a lot of curves, and you can really find them in nature a lot. If you look at a leaf or a lot of other shaped flowers in nature. And then geometric shapes are squares and triangles and perfect circles and ovals. So if you look at your instruction sheet, there's some nice pictures there of some different organic shapes and some geometric shapes, which you might recognize these from your math classes. So we're going to try and stay away from geometric shapes and do some organic shapes. And you see these in art quite a bit. So the first things we're going to need in your folder or in your bags are a folder like this. And go ahead and in that folder, this is lesson 3, so you probably already used a lot of the paper, but you're going to take out, there's some rainbow paper in there. There's 10 pieces of rainbow paper, and there's 1 thicker piece of white paper. So you're going to need those out of the bag. And then there is also some computer paper in there like this. You can use that for scratch paper, or you can use anything you have at home for some scratch paper if you want to do that too. And then in the actual bag you have a baggie of some foam squares and an Elmer's glue stick. So you need to get those out too. The other things that are not included are a pair of scissors and a pencil for this one. So we're going to start by making an organic shape, and you can kind of decide what order you want your paper to go in. So already it's in rainbow order, with pink being on top, which isn't really in the rainbow, but it goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So if you want to leave it in that order, you can, or you can switch it up and change it however you want. So I'm going to start in that same order like I did here. And I chose red to be the biggest one on the bottom. So whatever your bottom layer is going to be, pick out that color. I'm going to do the red. And the first thing we're going to do is draw our organic shape. Now I want to try and use as much of the red as I can, so my sculpture is not really small. I want it to be as big as I can without having too many straight edges. So just take your pencil and just draw a shape on there. Do something like that maybe. And you can have it kind of go in different places or come out. Here's kind of the shape I did when I decided to do this one. So I've got quite a bit of different curves in there. And once you have that done, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut that shape out. And I changed mine even as I was cutting it, which is fine. So you have a big shape like that. You can just move the scraps to the side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is decide what color is going to come next. So I'm going to use orange. And I have some pencil lines on mine, so I'm going to erase those. So take your next piece, and since I'm going to use orange, I'm going to take my red, and I'm going to put it right on top of this color next, and I'm going to trace around the red, or whatever color you used first. So after you have done that, the next thing, and I missed a little spot here, the next thing is we're going to make our orange piece, or whatever your second color is, just a little bit smaller than the red piece. So you can see as I am going up, each piece is getting smaller and smaller. So I'm cutting off about 1/4 of an inch. You can decide how much you really want to cut off, but 1/4 of an inch kind of looks nice, and that is a little bit less than the width of your pencil from this side to that side. So I'm going to just take my scissors, and I'm going to start I'm going to say, I'm going to cut in, you can kind of see it there, about that far. And I'm going to follow the line that I traced, but I'm cutting on the inside, and I'm still following the line, and I'm just imagining that that shape has a line on there, and I'm just cutting it. It doesn't have to be perfect. If in some spots it's a little bit thicker than others, that's okay. So now you can see if I lay it on top of the red, it's just a little bit smaller. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the red aside, because that one's done right now. I'm going to take the next color, my third color, and I'm going to lay it down. And I'm going to put the orange piece, or whatever your second was, on top. And I'm going to trace that one. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Going to cut in about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to cut that one out. And then just continue to do this with every single piece as it gets smaller and smaller. And as you get towards the end, some of them might even start to disappear. So you can, I'll show you on this one here in just a minute. So you can see up here that this piece, as it started to get up taller and taller, it disappears, because then it just becomes this one little piece up here. So I've got 3 cut, just like this, and you can see how they're each getting smaller. So go ahead and cut all the rest of yours, except for the white piece. The white piece is going to be our base. And then lay them all on top of each other. And after you have that part done, turn the video back on. Okay, so I've finished cutting my paper, and you can see that the pink on here actually came out in 2 different pieces with the way I did my shape. So the next part is going to be to put the foam squares in between. If you kind of hold it this way, you can kind of see them. So this will raise up the paper and make it 3-dimensional. So what you're going to do is get your little bag here. We also need to think about support. So am I going to put big pieces on the lid on the bottom, or I'm going to put small pieces on the bottom? And hopefully you have enough pieces. You should have. I gave you quite a few. But before we do any gluing at all, we're going to decide what's going to support our sculpture. And then we will go back and glue. So this white piece of paper is kind of nice, because you can just put your biggest piece down and then just move everything off to the side. And I'm going to use some of my larger pieces. And you kind of want to keep them away from the edges, remember, because the next one's going to be smaller. And decide a few spots that are going to need support. So you're going to need quite a few on the first piece. And then the next one, make sure that sits on there okay. Put some of those down. It's kind of nice to line them up with the ones that were down before. You can kind of push them down and make sure they have a good spot to rest. And this way you'll make sure you have enough pieces as you're moving up. Keep doing this all the way to the top. And if your pieces are too big, just take your scissors and just cut them off a little bit. Okay, so you can kind of see how it's going to look, and that looks pretty good. So the next part is going to be using your glue stick. So use your glue stick, and I like to use a piece of scratch paper or maybe even a piece of newspaper. And so this part can be kind of tricky because it's nice to work from the bottom up. So I'm going to very carefully slide those over, and I'm going to put glue. And you want to use quite a bit of glue on this. On all of those. Just one side to start with. Just like that, and then take your glue stick, put glue on all the top pieces. And then I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to stick it right on top. You can move those if you need to. And then just kind of put it on there so that you're lining it up. And then just push down on top of those. Oops. Push this guy in a little bit. He's kind of sticking out. Okay. So then the next thing you're going to do is take those ones off and do the same thing again. So continue to do that for every single one of your layers until you get all the way to the top. And then you should get something. Let's move this out of the way. Something that looks like this one. And you can decide if you want to use the white piece of paper. You can glue the whole thing down to the white piece of paper and use it as a background. And then you can hang that up on a wall if you want, or just leave it flat. You can glue that down to it or tape it down to it, whatever you want. Or maybe you don't even want to use the white piece of paper and you like it just like this. That's fine. So I hope that you learned something about organic and geometric shapes with this one, and a little bit about structure and how to support the base of this so that it stays stable. And also the rainbow, if you needed to learn the order of the rainbow, that's right there too. So have fun with this one, and we'll see you for the next craft.